Hello and welcome to Superintendents Roundtable. I'm Deborah Vinsel, the CEO here at Thurston Community Media. Periodically, we get together with the superintendents from the 4 largest school districts in Thurston County to talk about education. And we're pleased to have those folks with us again today here at the Roundtable. So please welcome Sean Dotson from the Tumwater Schools, Brian Wharton from the Yelm Community Schools, Patrick Murphy from the Olympia School District, and Deborah Clemens from the North Thurston Public Schools. Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. So, hey, so we're first program of 2020, and we're midway through the school year. So, Deb, why don't you share with us how things are going in North Thurston?
Well, we've had a great start to the school year. Our enrollment is up. We continue to enroll more students, it feels like, every day, every month. We're over 15,100 students now, and our largest grade band is kindergarten through 3rd grade. We're excited at this time of the year that we're going to be kicking off our first ever Future Ready kindergarten program. It's for students who turned 5 after this school year started. So they were 4, turned 5. They weren't eligible to start kindergarten in the fall. We're going to enroll those students in late January, and they will attend school through June and then be able to attend kindergarten next year. It's defined as a transitional kindergarten program. We've targeted it for our schools that have the highest percentage of students living in poverty, and the children that will be enrolled in the program are currently not being served in a preschool program. And so it's really going to benefit those children so that in the fall, when they enroll in kindergarten, they're really going to be ready. Another implementation first year for us is a program called Smart Tag. It is where when a student enters onto the bus, they have a tag that is scanned, and so the bus driver knows that student is on the right bus, and at the time that the student exits the bus when they're dropped off at their home, they scan off the bus. What is wonderful about this program called Smart Tag is that every once in a while we get a call from a parent who is wondering where their child is. And our transportation department has had to pull those drives of video recordings off of buses and try to search for whether or not that child was actually on the bus that day. With this new technology, we can quickly assess, was the student even on the bus? Did perhaps a grandparent or someone else pick up the student from school and the student never actually even got on the bus? So it saves time. We're able to get back to the parent much more quickly with the answer because, as you can imagine, if a child is missing, that's a really big deal for us and the family.
And then also children sometimes get confused and just step onto the wrong bus. So this would help to prevent that.
Absolutely, especially early in the school year. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Sounds like you're off to a good start. Patrick, how are things in Olympia?
It's been a wonderful start to the school year in Olympia. Maybe it's partly due to the fact that this is my 3rd year and my familiarity is a little bit better, but I also think it's the collegiality and the support that we give each other in this region across school districts. We actually are doing a similar program with our buses that Deb was just describing in North Thurston, and we're working with them and learning from them as we try and implement that for those very same reasons. We're also, as you know, and we've said this in previous shows here, we're in the 2nd year of implementation of our student outcomes, which is part of our strategic plan, which is 6 student outcomes that aren't just about academics. It's about the whole child. It's about mental and physical wellness. It's about confronting and understanding bias. It's about finding passions and being curious and being strong collaborators in the natural world. So there's all sorts of things that we're doing that are really exciting in Olympia, and it really drives all the work that we do. It's the filter we use to make decisions with budget, which I know we're going to talk about later, staffing and things like that. It's an exciting time. It's a time to celebrate. About a month or so ago, we announced to our school board that the class of 2019, our most recent graduating class, had the highest on-time graduation rate in the history of the Olympia School District. 91.1% graduated on time, which means that all those students that entered in 9th grade 4 years later, 91.1% of them graduated on time within 4 years. And we celebrate that as a systems-wide celebration from preschool all the way up through high school because of the foundation in elementary, middle, and high. And what I love about Olympia and about this entire region is while we celebrate that, we still keep asking the questions from an equity lens. Who's the 8.9% that didn't graduate and why? And if we look at that data, it's too predictable. We know it has to do with race. We know it has to do with poverty. We know it has to do with students in special programs like special education. And so we're constantly working to improve that. But when you're getting numbers like we're getting at that level, and our extended rate is close to 94%, I mean, we're really getting close to reaching that goal, which is 100, which is what we all want. So it's exciting. It's been a wonderful start to the year. And the last thing I would share is we had 2 new board members that just joined us this year, Director Maria Flores and Director Justin McCoyne are joining our leadership team, and they bring wonderful experience. And I think with them joining our school board, it's going to be an even brighter future for us in Olympia.
Great. How's it going out in Yelm?
Wonderful. Opening semester, almost done, almost to the end of the first semester in Yelm. Like everyone else, we at our Yelm High School, we're a one high school town, had the highest on-time graduation rate ever, 92.3%. And we're really also proud of our extension school, our alternative program. Their extended grad rate, that's students who are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, grew by 25% in 1 year. That's an amazing statistic. We also have the highest extended grad rate that we ever had. And we like that we got those numbers in the first year of our Graduate Yelm initiative, and that's where we asked our community to join in with us as businesses, as churches, as civic groups, to make sure that we're always supporting our kids on their path to graduation in whatever manner we can engage them in talking about their future, the bright future that they can have. We want to do that. And we've been able to bring on 115 business partners or community partners for that initiative. And we opened up a new opportunity for individuals to say, I want to help kids graduate. And we've signed up our first 35 personal pledge members. We have 2 major initiatives around graduation readiness, and that's our AVID rollout at secondary schools, our middle and high school, and also our No Excuses University work that we're doing K-12. And we just brought Fort Stevens Elementary on board. They are now 6 of our 9 schools are No Excuses University certified graduation readiness schools. So we're really excited about that. And I would say the last thing that is really propelling a lot of our success is that when we look at our achievement data across the board, every one of our schools in their comprehensive look at their achievement grew last year in both proficiency and growth, and we're really proud of that.
Great. And how about you? You're the newest member of the Roundtable and have had the shortest tenure in your position. So how are things going?
Yes, so this is my first start with Tumwater School District, and it's been so exciting to see the incredible teaching and learning happening across our district and the intentional work our staff is doing to continue to improve every day. So like our colleagues here, we have an extended graduation rate of over 93% and an on-time graduation rate of 90%. And that's something we're super proud of in our district. And I think something we can be proud of across the region when the state graduation rate is, I believe, in the 81, 82% range. So we're all really exceeding that in a substantial way. And yet, I know we're not satisfied. And you've heard that already. We're not satisfied that that's enough, and we think we can do better. And until every kid is crossing that stage, we're all going to work to find ways to do so. Our juniors this year are facing a higher requirement than the students who are graduating and have graduated in previous years with a 24-credit diploma set to for full implementation next year. So we have a graduation task force that is working to figure out what are the ways we support students in creative and different ways to meet that higher requirement. And we've added what's called Navien, which is an online component, a career and college planning tool that's really to help our students in their planning through high school, to help them think about goals beyond high school and push them to really think carefully about every course they take and to find and to prepare them for the next step in their lives. We're also really our staff have been working on cultural competence, bringing in outside trainers, working with our students to try and make sure our schools are welcoming for every student, regardless of their background, their culture, their socioeconomic status, that our schools feel like a place where everyone wants to be and is ready to succeed. And along with that, we've also had several new board members come on. Directors Darby Kaikkonen, Casey Taylor, and Scott Killow joined us, and we're very excited to have them join the board and start bringing new ideas and their thoughts and suggestions to help us keep improving. And we are finishing some construction projects across the district. So that's allowing us to open some new spaces. I think our families are excited to see offices that have been housed in classrooms start to move back into their normal places and really reach that stage of completion when they've seen them under construction for a couple of years.
Great. Well, it sounds like you've all had a good start to the school year. And it's the start of a new calendar year, which means that it's the start of a new legislative session, which is coming up. So we've had many discussions about legislative priorities in the past. So what's on the list of needs and wants for the school districts with the legislative session this year? Patrick, I'm going to start with you.
Great. I think that I wish we didn't have to talk about the legislature and the budget as much as we do. I know that in my communications out to the Olympia community, I acknowledge that it's kind of a tiring refrain that we're going back to the legislature this session because there are things that are still not working well for us in Thurston County and in Olympia School District particularly, and we share a lot of these similar issues. But our board passed some recent legislative priorities that I think are mirrored by most, which are just key things that hurt our bottom line in our school district. One of the ones is the implementation of the SEB, or the state health care plan, which we believe is a great thing, which is to provide more full health insurance to more of our employees. But like too many things, it was not fully funded. And our analysis comes out to about $750,000 in costs that we're absorbing in the Olympia School District because of the implementation of SEB. So we're asking that to be addressed in this legislative session. Special education is a huge ongoing issue that we've talked in this venue many times about before. We do not fully fund the costs of serving our students with special needs. And in Olympia, we subsidize out of our general fund to the tune of about $5.6 million for special education. And so that is a huge priority for us. I know it is for others sitting at the table here. And then the other thing that's super important is we're gonna talk about in our levy about how that pays for a lot of things that are not paid for by the state. But those things that are paid for by the state, we want them to fully pay for those things. So when I say that specifically, pay for the cost of a teacher. When they switched the formula under the McCleary decision, so they no longer take into account the experience of a teacher, more experienced teachers with more seniority get paid more, brand new teachers get paid less. Now every teacher gets a flat rate. For districts like ours that have committed long-term well-experienced teachers, it penalizes us. And we would have done better under the old system. So that's another thing that we're talking to the legislature about. And it's going to have an impact on us again. And again, I'm tired of saying this, but we're going to be in these same discussions again, watching the legislative session closely and making some tough decisions about our budget to see what happens at the end. And I will share one last thing. With the governor's budget proposal that came out in December, we don't expect there to be a lot for K-12 education during this session. It's a short session. Everybody's been telling us that. There's fatigue because of McCleary. The governor's budget has very, very little in it for K-12 education. And so it's going to be a harder fight. And we're not sure what that outcome's going to be. But it's a little bit of the same old, Deb, unfortunately.
Okay. Were there any particular legislative priorities for Yelm?
We're focusing in, because of that message that there won't be a broad enhancement to education, we're really focusing in on special needs students and how do we bridge the gap between what is not funded at the state and federal level for our most fragile students. And in Yelm, we move $1.6 million from our levy into supporting special needs students. And those aren't extras. I can't say it enough that we are proud to bring those services that are listed in the IEP. We want to do more. The troubling part last year that came out of some of the legislation is that there was strong agreement on how much money was needed in special education, and it was between $350 and $400 million, and what actually came out was $150 million. So our hope is that we continue to make progress towards fully funding what our most fragile students need, and also that we start having a realistic discussion about what is it going to look like in 2, 4, and 6 years. The future in education is about how do we get to that last 10% or that last 8% of students who are not making it all the way through to graduation, and that will be the conversation about mental and physical health supports, counseling, family engagement. How do we access classroom and non-classroom expertise and support for students? And we have to acknowledge in our communities that even though the economy appears to be strengthening, our free and reduced price lunch populations are growing. Our impact of poverty is growing. The impact of anxiety and depression and self-harm, those issues are only magnifying in the current reality. And we have to keep moving towards an educational system that is addressing both the classroom and the non-classroom needs of our families and our students.
Okay. How about in Tumwater? What are the priorities for the legislature from your perspective?
Well, you'll hear an echo here. Special education is substantial for us. About $700,000 of our costs in special education are not funded by the state, so that ends up coming from our local levy. And I think most people in the community would expect that is something that would be fully funded by the state, but is not at this time, and that's a continuing need. And so we'll be sharing that same message to our legislators, that that's something we need to work to address. Equitable funding for schools. Patrick talked about that challenge for districts with a more senior staff. We sit in that same situation, and really working to address that inequity across districts in the state would be super important for us. And we'll continue to share that message with our legislators, whether they're able to accomplish it this session or not. It's something we need to keep on their radar screen, and they need to keep understanding that is creating some serious challenges for the budgets of a number of districts across the state. And there's also a need for us to continue to work on what the state funds in terms of staff in some key areas. And you've heard that our students, as far as counselors, nurses, safety and security staff, social workers, those are some areas where the state's formulas of what they provide in staffing do not align with what it takes us to operate an effective school. So we are going to continue to share that with them. There's a technical work group that was formed that just gave their report back to the legislature, saying this is what really the staffing model for schools should be. And it will now be up to the legislature to find a way to start to shift their model to align with what schools in our districts and across the state really provide our students. And so we have to keep sharing that message with them and keep encouraging them to move forward, and also thank them for the progress we've made.
Okay. So, Deb, did you have anything to add?
Well, our board did adopt 4 legislative priorities, and to echo Sean's comment, we are grateful for the additional funding that we have received in North Thurston Public Schools in the area of special education costs. Our local levy reliance went down by $2.4 million due to that additional state funding. So our hope is that the state will continue to make progress in those areas. The one area that hasn't been mentioned that I wanted to share is our board adopted a priority around making sure that children that live in our community who qualify for state-funded preschool programs are actually served. Based on a saturation study that was done last year, over 400 children who are age 4 qualified for state-funded preschools, and they weren't served. When we look at our it's called WaKids, our assessment of kindergarten students coming into kindergarten, 47% are not showing that they are kindergarten ready in all 6 domains. Well, we know we have record high graduation rates, all of our school districts. We're making up that gap, but we know that those children would be more successful in kindergarten and would not qualify for intervention services if they were able to attend a quality preschool program.
Okay, so lots on the table for the legislature. We hope to pay attention and think about and take some actions on. So we're going to take a quick pause here. Stay tuned. Welcome to Thurston Community Media. We're a nonprofit organization that's been providing services to the greater Thurston County area since 1986.
Here at TC Media, we provide everyone with access to media production classes and opportunities to produce your own content.
TC Media members get access to our production studios, our high-definition cameras, and airtime on cable TV.
To get started, all you need to do is sign up for the orientation, free of charge. Then, once you've decided to be a member, you can take any number of our production classes.
We offer intensive training in studio and field production.
We also offer audio classes, video editing workshops, iPad production, and much more.
Once you're certified, you'll be able to check out professional equipment
and use our facilities to produce your non-commercial show.
You can also volunteer as crew on different productions.
Once your production is complete, give it to us and I'll make sure it gets on one of our channels.
You have the opportunity to share your story with people in our community.
So join us here at Thurston Community Media, where we deliver communication resources to build stronger communities. Welcome back. We've had a great conversation about education in Thurston County at this edition of the Superintendents Roundtable, but we do want to take a minute to give each of you an opportunity to tell us about something that you're looking forward to in 2020. I'm going to start with you, Sean. So what's coming up in 2020 that you're looking forward to?
Certainly. Well, you know, the first half of my year has really been getting to know Tumwater School District, getting to know the people, starting to understand our district, and with the transition in several board members, now we have that team in place. We're finishing that work, and I'm really excited to dig into the next steps in our progress forward. And what I guess really excites me is after spending time here, I am now familiar with the quality of our staff, the great things I see happening in our classrooms every day, the teachers supporting students, and the partnerships in our community. We have an incredible partnership with Together, that provides so many supports for our students that we couldn't otherwise provide. We had our Tumwater firefighters gave 1,200 coats to our students over just before winter break to help them, students who need that through the winter. And so deepening those partnerships, looking for the ways to move forward. I shared earlier on about our graduation task force and cultural competency work. What I love about Tumwater is there is no complacency. Everyone is seeking ways to get better, and everyone's been sharing their ideas with me, and now the fun work is starting to narrow in on the focus, getting clear about our next steps, and then taking that into the future. And I'm just really excited to begin that work with them this spring. And I would say also that we have our students are doing incredible things in a variety of activities, and I've just so enjoyed everything from music performances to athletic competitions, a state championship in football. We have a lot to celebrate in our district, and it's an exciting time to be in Tumwater.
Great. Deb, what's coming up in 2020 that you're looking forward to?
Well, there's a lot of great things going on in 2020. One that I'm particularly excited about is for the last couple of years, we've been studying the implementation of a dual language program for students to be taught in Spanish and in English. And we're going to be starting that program next year at Lydia Hawk Elementary School. So this spring, in the spring of the year, we plan for all of our staffing and rollout of new programs for next year. And we're going to begin to introduce that opportunity to our community for next fall.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Patrick, what's coming up in 2020 you're excited about?
Well, I think the second half of every school year is exciting. 2020 is no different. The second half of the year is the opportunity where we get to celebrate so many different things. We have more national board certified teachers that we're going to celebrate. Our Teacher of the Year, we have Teacher Appreciation Week, Education Support Professionals Week, Public School Volunteers Week. We have over 5,000 volunteers in the Olympia School District on an annual basis on average. And our graduations that are going to be coming up in June that we'll talk about at the end. I mean, I love the second part of the year because there's so many great things to celebrate. But the thing I guess I would want to share with you specifically, Deb, is what I talked about earlier with our 2017 Technology and Safety Levy and the rollout of our Chromebook one-to-one model. I do think as we've had these conversations about how we are going to meet the needs of all students, we have these really high success rates, but there's these pockets, these persistent nagging things that we want to solve, and I think technology is going to be a huge part of that. The passing of our technology levy was an equity initiative. We wanted to make sure that every student in our district had the same machine regardless of their income level. And so every single one of our high school students has a Chromebook now that they take home just like a textbook. All of our middle school students have a Chromebook now they take home just like a textbook. We have one-to-one, basically that model in the elementary schools, but we actually leave it in the school. And we're taking the opportunity, again, thanks to the generosity of our taxpayers, to really look at online learning and spread that out to give more flexibility to our students where there is some barriers, whether it's for health reasons, whether it's a conflict in their schedule or something, that we can use the technology that a lot of people in the business and adult world use for learning. We'll do more of it in our classroom. So that's something I'm really excited about, and again, it's thanks to the generosity of our voters.
Great. And Brian, how about you? What's going on in Yelm that you're really looking forward to?
Three things that are really standing out for us is in August we completed a stadium renovation where we put in a new surface and new lights and scoreboard, and we've already used that facility 4 times more than we did in the previous 3 years combined. So it's become a community use facility. We're really excited that we're bringing the Day of Champions, we're bringing a Relay for Life event, we're bringing community sporting events into Yelm where they've never been able to host those events before due to the fact that we couldn't use the stadium surface. So that's really exciting. In April, we will break ground on our new Yelm Middle School project, and that is part of our bond that we passed. It's a 100,000 square foot middle school for 740 kids. It's a gorgeous facility, so it'll be a wonderful addition to our community. And then lastly, on a kind of a personal note, we've been able to hire 30 of our recent graduates as teachers over the last 4 years. And prior to being the superintendent, I was the high school principal for 6 years. So many of those were my former students. And it is just an absolute joy to go into the classrooms and watch those, what I saw as 16, 17, and 18-year-olds be these magnificent leaders of young people. It really makes every day worth it.
Great. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. The weather today was daunting, so we appreciate that you braved it to come to the roundtable, and we'll look forward to talking to you again in May. For all of you, if you're the parent of a preschool child, please read with your child 20 minutes a day. It's one of the best things you can do to get them ready for their education. And while you're at it, throw in some counting games so they get curious about numbers and math. If you're the parent of a school-age child, please get involved with your child's education. There are so many ways that you can volunteer in your child's school. Talk to your child's teacher or principal or check their website for volunteer opportunities. And please, don't forget, in February, when you get your ballot for the bonds and levy issues that are going to be on that ballot for districts here in the greater Thurston County area, please fill it out and send it back. It's important that you vote. Regardless of what your vote is, it's important that you vote. Thanks for joining us on the Superintendent's Roundtable. We'll see you again in the spring.